Hello everybody, it's Professor Rich, and this is a video about linking sounds in pronunciation. So this is quite an advanced topic, even for pronunciation. So this is probably one of the last things you should be trying to learn with your pronunciation. This is really getting to a fine level of your language. So what is a linking sound? A linking sound is a sound which kind of appears when we put two words together, and before it wasn't really there. So for example, if we take the words take care, and we put those in a phrase which ends in of yourself. So we have take care of yourself. But when we say that phrase, we say it like this: take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. Yourself. Take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. So you notice this r sound appears from nowhere in the middle of the phrase, and that sound is what we call a linking sound. So this very commonly happens when the previous word doesn't end in a consonant sound and the next word doesn't start in a consonant sound. So you kind of have two words together where one word is ending in like an open sound and the next word is starting with an open sound, and then we sort of insert this linking sound to put the two words together. So I'm going to go through the main types of linking sounds. So the R sound is probably the most common, and that typically happens when the previous word ends in a sound like o, or, a, or r. The sound at the start of the next word actually doesn't matter that much. The most important thing in determining which linking sound to use is the sound at the end of the first word. Okay, so here's some examples of the R linking sound. We have better, option, and you put those together and you get better option, better option, better option. It's a better option. You could have bar, above, bar above, the bar above, the bar above my flat. Moving on to the next linking sound. So another linking sound is w, and this typically appears when the sound at the end of the first word is oo or o. So an example of this would be if we take blue and alien, and you get blue alien, blue alien. He says that he saw a blue alien. He says that he saw a blue alien. Blue alien with a woo just appears. Blue alien. A blue alien. He says that he saw a blue alien. The third linking sound that I'm going to tell you about appears when the first word ends in E or I. So the linking sound that appears here is a Y sound. And an example would be if we take free and orange and we get free orange. Free orange. If you buy an apple here, then they give you a free orange. So the fourth linking sound I want to mention is quite strange, and this is the sound G. And the sound G magically appears sometimes in English, and I'm going to give you one example now. I'm only going to give you one example, and if you want to see any more, then you'll just have to look out for it. It doesn't happen that often, but it does happen sometimes. So, for example, if we have the word did, and then we have the word you, or y, if we're speaking fast, when we put those words together, then we don't actually say did you. What we say is did you. So I could say, for example, did you see the film the other day? Did you? And it becomes a j. Did you see the film the other day? So that's another example of a linking sound. There are others, but they're not so common. But it's just something to be aware of, that these things do actually happen. And if you really, really want to perfect your pronunciation, then you should look out for them. The one that I would probably learn first, though, is the R sound, because that is the most common. Right, so I hope that that's been helpful. I am going to do a little example of speaking colloquially very fast and using some of these linking sounds so that you can watch that and kind of listen out for some linking sounds and maybe practice a little bit. Plus, people were saying that they would just like to hear in general what it's like when I'm just speaking with my friends and how difficult that is to understand. I guess because people watch these videos and they find me quite easy to understand, and then they go, wait a minute, how come I can find him quite easy to understand, but when I actually listen to natives, then it's more difficult. So I'm going to try and do a little thing where I just speak completely normally as if I was speaking to my friends, and that might be a bit of a challenge for you. So that should appear around about now. So I'm going to give you some advice about studying in general. Now, obviously, as a teacher and a learner, then I have some fairly strong opinions on this, and also quite a lot of experience of this. I've seen people try to learn new things, and I've seen people improve, and I've seen people improve faster, and I've seen people improve slower. Plus, I enjoy studying myself. I like learning new things, and I suppose I'm kind of what you would call like an amateur learner. Like, I'm not currently studying professionally kind of at university or for my career or anything, but out of interest, then I often study things that I find interesting. So, first of all, I'm going to say the obvious thing, that studious students learn stuff quicker. And that actually applies to languages as well. As much as there are lots of kind of myths about how to learn a language faster, the reality is that when there's a student that comes into your classroom and they've got a notebook where they make their own notes and they color code everything and all the rest of it, and they do all the homework and they come to all the classes and they do all the writings, and then when you tell them stuff, they start scribbling down the kind of advice that you're giving them, and they kind of go, oh, I'm going to look at that later, and you just know, and you know, a few weeks later, a few months later, if you compare like how they are now to how they were then you can really see the difference, and it's massive. And you compare a student like that to someone who comes in and kind of kicks back and kind of goes, I'm just going to absorb the class or whatever. And that's fine, for some people that's kind of the way to do it, isn't it? That's how they relax, and that's how it works for them. But they don't improve as fast. Okay? So this is like newsflash, studious students learn things quicker than non-studious students. Who would have thought that? The second thing I'm going to say is just a random comment about method. With methods, I would say, what do you prefer? What do you prefer doing, basically? Like, do you like reading? Do you like watching TV? Because if we're talking about learning a language, then you should be doing the stuff that you enjoy doing, but in the other language, because that is going to be the most effective way for you to learn the language. Obviously, you can't do that with a basic level, but if you have a basic level, you're not going to understand a word I'm saying now anyway, so that doesn't really matter. So let's say, for example, you enjoy reading stuff in Spanish. Well, then reading in English is an obvious thing to do, isn't it? Oh, you enjoy reading about science in Spanish. Well, buy some science books in English. Oh, you enjoy reading science fiction, fantasy, or whatever. Then, buy some of those books, but in English. That should be clear. I mean, if you don't enjoy reading in Spanish, then there is no way that you're going to enjoy reading in English. This is one of the things that blows my mind sometimes, that people who don't actually read in their own language will come along and go, oh, I've bought this book in English to read it. And I say, oh, do you read? Do you enjoy reading? No, not really. Well, that's not going to work then, is it? Because, you'll pick up the book and you'll read it a few times, you'll go, and it's going to be less enjoyable than doing it in your own language. I mean, I'm going to stick my hand up and admit to something here. I really enjoy watching cartoons, and one of the things that really helped me with my Spanish was watching a cartoon in English called Adventure Time, or in Spanish called La Hora de Aventura. La Hora de Aventura. My own pronunciation in Spanish got a little bit off there. And I really enjoy watching cartoons. So watching cartoons in Spanish I found great, and it was great for learning like little colloquial phrases as well, because in cartoons you think, oh, they don't really speak like children, they just speak with all of this kind of energetic, cool language. Say, well, you learn all this stuff like me mola un montón and things like that, which are actually kind of fun little things to learn. Que chulo, tío. And maybe I'm not going to use that stuff on a daily basis, but it's nice to have it in your vocabulary at least. But anyway, the crucial thing here is take what you enjoy in your own language and then use that for your language learning. Okay, so the next thing that I want to say is, unfortunately, sometimes the reality is that you have to study stuff that you don't want to study. Now, hopefully with English that's not the case, although it might be the case because a lot of people are learning English for professional reasons and not because they actually want to learn the language, and therefore sometimes you have this kind of obligation factor, and that's kind of a shame. However, if you're getting to the level where you're watching this video, then probably you're an enthusiast. You actually enjoy studying English, so that's great, because if you enjoy studying something, then it's much easier. However, sometimes you have to get a certain certificate, like you're at university and you're studying a postgraduate, and there's one part of it if you're doing a postgraduate, you should really be into it. Let's say then you're at university and there's one particular module in theoretical calculus, and you just think like, I hate this, but you just have to do it. So what do you do in that situation? Well, you put up with it. But my advice is kind of, accept that those situations exist, but limit them as much as possible. So studying should not actually be a chore. However, sometimes it has to be a chore. I mean, in an ideal world, we'd only study things that we really wanted to study. Even the ancient Greeks had this kind of ideal in their heads that we should have this society. I mean, it's kind of a Platos Republic idea where we have this society where people kind of have these intrinsic qualities about themselves that make them interested in this certain thing, and then they become this certain part of society which is kind of doing their ideal thing. So the most moral people become the protectors, and the philosophers become the leaders, as Plato kind of famously said. And actually, with kind of the way the world's going, with kind of technology and robots and blah, 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 then maybe one day we'll actually see that, where humans actually get freed up to such an extent that people can just entirely go and study the things that they want to and never have to study the things that they just have to and they don't actually want to. Right, so that's more or less the end of the video. I hope that was helpful. It's kind of difficult actually to speak, to a camera and to a microphone, how you would actually speak to your friends. I sort of tried my best with that. Definitely at parts of where I was just speaking, like I was probably speaking like faster than I would to my friends actually. So, you have to think about that as well. There's going to be parts of that where you're like, oh my God, like, you know, he just said like 300 words in the space of 10 seconds. You know, in reality, people don't actually speak that fast all the time. I was just trying to push it a little bit. And the kind of falsity of the lack of authenticity of the kind of situation makes it difficult to do that. I mean, I'm not an actor, I'm an English teacher, so, you know. Anyway, I hope that was helpful. I hope this video's kind of taught you a little bit about linking sounds. If you haven't understood a thing, then probably this video is a little bit too advanced for you. Like I said, linking sounds, it's a pretty advanced topic, and to be honest, I was quite surprised to get a question on it, because it's not very often that I come across students that A, want to know about linking sounds, B, have the kind of required prerequisite knowledge to know how to use linking sounds. But there you go, I've done it anyway, and that's great. I really have nothing else to say. This is my new microphone setup, by the way. It's nice, isn't it? Wow. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Gonna have to do that again. Thank you so much for watching, and catch you later.